We now move on to discussions on the planet Neptune. This planet represents a stage of deionization of cobalt. We discussed in the previous chapter that the process by which a planet from a gaseous stage, a gas planet, reduces its size is by the demagnetization process, where it loses energy and so allows the compounds of the respective ferromagnetic element to then escape its magnetic pull and move out into the universe. This process is very apparent in Neptune, and it is the transition from Neptune to the next planet, Pluto, which we will discuss later, which is a very critical part of not only being able to understand the evolution of planets, but being able to use this process of the evolution of planets to be able to calculate the time and the age of the galaxies to a fair measure of accuracy. The planet Neptune is blue, as is the compounds of cobalt. As I said initially, we will not go too much into the chemistry of it, but it is there in my book very clearly, and I'm open to any questions or queries where it concerns the more scientific process. This is instructive because it is of critical importance that it be seen not only as an emotional attempt to theorize the process of evolution, but very critically a scientific process of deduction, which has been the mainstay of scientists for centuries. This process, which Saturn has begun, is a process of deionization that continues on way into Neptune. And it is this process that continues and continues until it reduces the planet to the size of which Pluto is, which is almost 0.6% or 0.06% the size of the Earth. This process, which is the final process of evolution of the planet, is a process which enables most of the energy to be removed from the ball that used to be Mars, that went on to Jupiter central, that was the core of Saturn, that was now then the core of Uranus, then on the core of Neptune, that will finally, on completion of its entire process, become Pluto. So the bulk of the planets at the point of Neptune is merely cobalt and nickel. Those two elements are all that remain on Neptune, along with trace elements of sulfur and chlorides, etc., which were the original parts of the Martian landscape, as we discussed, which originally was the iron ball, in inverted commas, that was the center of what we know as planet Earth, which is the planet in its generative stage. I know this is a lot of technicality, but the critical point of it all is just to merely understand that the planets do not stand alone, and they are not single in their cause and effect, that they are part of a growth and death cycle in the universe that is prevalent in all, and I'm bold enough to say all, of the solar systems that exists in the universe. It is not feasible to understand any other recourse, that anything else would be possible, because of the sheer beauty of it and the sheer natural law that governs its existence. This process of deionization will lead into a critical part where the planet, which we know as Neptune, becomes, from its large gas planet position, where it's almost 75 times the size of Earth, to a position where it's reduced solely to a ball that is almost the size of our moon. And it is this process that heralds the beauty of it, looking at how a flesh full animal becomes now only a skeleton, only a fragment of itself. And I'm sure if the proportions are calculated, you would find a similarity between the proportions of a skeleton to human beings, and as far as mass is concerned, and the proportion of the initial planet in its full stage to what it becomes after the completion of the decomposition process or deionization process, which is present in planet Neptune. So at this point, I would like to move on to Pluto in this similar process without making too much more fuss about the decomposition process of Neptune, but to merely say that it is something which continues on for a long period of time, closer to 3 billion years, to allow you to move on to the next planet, which in many cases is said to not be a planet, but which I will prove that is a planet, which is Pluto.